Hey y'all, IrixGuy here, and there's been a lot of confusion surrounding the new Phantom 3 standard. Now, at first glance, including myself, when I did a quick spec read through, the absence of a lot of things did not immediately pop out, and that's actually kind of brilliant marketing from a certain perspective, because there's a few things that's happened in conjunction with the Phantom 3 standard release. You no longer have the DJI Palette app for, in my case, I use the Phantom 3 Professional, but you no longer have that for the Phantom 3 Professional, Phantom 3 Advanced, the Inspire, the Phantom 3 Standard. So you're stuck with a new app, and then that makes it look like, oh, things must be better. Now, I haven't field tested the new app yet, but stay tuned, because I'm going to go into it in a great amount of depth in the field, but you can watch my DJI Go app walkthrough where you can see the interface. It basically, to me on the surface, it looks like a rebranded DJI Palette app. So they've released that new app because they want to have the same app for all the Phantoms, for all the Phantom 3s, and make all the Phantom 3s seem to be equal. Now that's fine and dandy, and that's something that a lot of people would see and they would say, oh, well, they all use the same app and this, that, and the other, why do I need to spend more? Well, here's what's different about it. When you're looking at the Phantom 3 standard, and it's not immediately obvious just by scrolling through the page, but when you look at the controller for the Phantom 3 standard, unlike the Phantom 3 Advanced and the Phantom 3 Professional that I use, it doesn't have something called light bridge. So when that controller is communicating with the Phantom, it's doing so by way of Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi like you have in your house for internet, that type thing. Not that range is an issue, because obviously I fly line of sight and safe and responsibly, but with Wi-Fi, even at a lesser range, you often encounter less high quality video transmission. Think back to the Phantom 2 Vision Plus, which was an awesome drone, and I owned two of them. I crashed one into a tree. It was my own fault. The thing worked great, never had any problems with it. But when you compare the FPV experience with Phantom 2 Vision Plus to the FPV experience with the Phantom 3 Professional or the Phantom 3 Advanced, it's night and day. And the reason being is that the Advanced and the Professional, they both use something called light bridge to communicate with the Phantom for the FPV. So with the Phantom 3 Pro like I have and the Phantom 3 Advanced, you're connecting that physical cable, in my case the iPhone 6 Plus, plugging it into the iPhone 6 Plus, then plugging it into the Phantom 3 Professional's controller. With the new Phantom 3 Standard, you're not cabling anything. The controller is a lesser quality controller, and the controller is communicating with the Phantom. Well, the controller communicates with your smartphone by way of Wi-Fi, and then it communicates with the Phantom. So you don't have the light bridge, which means you don't have as long a range. It's going to basically be a glorified Phantom 2 Vision Plus, which isn't a problem. Phantom 2 Vision Plus was great, but that's something to be aware of. Also with the Phantom 3 Standard, unlike the Phantom 3 Professional and the Phantom 3 Advanced, you're not getting GLONASS, which is the Russian equivalent of GPS, and you're also not getting the ground sensors. So as far as the precision of the flight, as we all know, the Phantom 2 Vision Plus was awesome, but this is basically a glorified Phantom 2 Vision Plus. Now what makes it different from the Phantom 2 Vision Plus is that the Phantom 2 Vision Plus used an app that's now, in the eyes of many, it's obsolete. It was called DJI Vision app. But at least with the Phantom 3 Standard, you're able to use the same DJI Go app that the Phantom 3 Advanced and the Phantom 3 Professional use. So you're getting the same app, you're just not getting the same refinements that you get with the Advanced or the Professional. Now, one thing that DJI did with the Phantom 3 Standard that's kind of brilliant and kind of weird from a marketing perspective is that they said, okay, we're going to put a different camera on here. So to look at the specs, one might say, well, why would I buy the advanced? Because this camera on the standard is better and it costs less. The standard camera, Phantom 3 standard, tops out at 2.7K resolution. And that sounds good in theory, but you got to think about it for a minute. And by the way, the Phantom 3 Advanced tops out at 1080p 60 frames per second, and the Phantom 3 Professional, the top of the line, the one that I use, tops out at 4K 30 frames per second. So you got to ask yourself, this is kind of weird. It's 2.7K, so it's better than high definition, but it's not as good as 4K. So this is the way I like to explain it. So you're looking at a TV, you're about to buy a TV, and you're like, "Hey man, do y'all have 2.7K TVs?" And they're going to look at you like, "Huh?" It's a weird resolution. It's better than 1080p, but 4K is the next step up from 1080p. So what real purpose does 2.7K serve? Well, it's one of those deals. You're probably going to end up, if you did go with the Phantom 3 standard, you're probably just going to use 1080p. So why even worry with putting 2.7K on there? And if you need ultra high definition, obviously you're going to go with the Phantom 3 Professional and get the 4K Ultra HD like I use. Because when you're out looking at those new TVs now that are 4K Ultra HD TVs, those are the ones that the Phantom 3 Professional filming in 4K is creating the content that's optimal for them. The Phantom 3 standard is not 4K. It's 2.7. So it's not even close to 4K, but it is better than 1080p HD. So these are weird, these are weird observations. And in my theory, and I always feel that there's a mission behind something. My theory is this. Well, there's a few things that are happening. Early 2016, GoPro, the camera company, GoPro is coming out with a GoPro branded drone. And it's likely going to be the kill-all if GoPro executes well. And the reason being is that, they've got a reputation for being the leading action camera maker. And they're publicly traded now. They got a lot of cash. I think GoPro is making a lot of people shaking their boots. And DJI, in my opinion, is the only true competition that GoPro has right now. So I feel what DJI is likely doing, they're saying, okay, we're going to find a way to introduce something new to our customers. And where they're going with this is the orbiting functionality of the camera, the waypoint functionality. They're going towards that. So what they're doing, they've released this new, less expensive Phantom 3 standard, and I'm assuming that it may be using some of the internals of the now obsolete Phantom 2 Vision Plus that were sitting around. They're using that older technology to cut cost, and they're packaging it in a way with the same app, the DJI Go app that the greater Phantoms, the Phantom 3 Advanced and Phantom 3 Professional use. So they're saying, hey, this is going to do pretty much the same thing at a lower price point. So they're reaching out to a larger customer base, and then ultimately they're going to unveil this this software update that will allow the orbiting functionality and the waypoint functionality, because that's something that some other drones, that was kind of their claim to fame. They said, oh, you can't do that with a Phantom, but look at this, whee! And they were really showing off these camera tricks where, basically you got a stationary object and then your drone could automatically circle that object while keeping the camera pointed at the object. So yeah, that's coming to Phantom 3, and that's all the Phantom 3s. Phantom 3 Advanced, Phantom 3 Professional, and Phantom 3 Standard. So in my opinion, it's DJI gearing up for getting more of these units out in people's hands, so that hopefully, because without a doubt right now, DJI is the most popular drone. It's the most popular drone out there. If you ask, let's just say you ask 100 people to have drones, the majority of those people are likely going to have a DJI drone, and it's probably going to be a DJI Phantom series. So they're shaking in their boots, and they're saying, we want to get these drones in more people's hands, because GoPro, according to what I've researched on Google search, GoPro is expected to, and I haven't seen any of the official prices or anything, but it's rumored that it's likely going to be in the $500 price range, $500 US. And if they're selling a well-executed drone for around the $500 US price point, it's going to be it's going to put a hurt down on a lot of the competitors. So if I was buying a drone today, what would I tell you? And this is exactly what I would tell you. Do you need to film in 4K, or is 1080p Ultra HD fine? So that's the first thing you got to ask yourself. Now, I do all 4K. Every video I post now, unless it's old content where I didn't have a 4K camera at the time to film it, all the content that I post is now 4K. So the only option for me is Phantom 3 Professional that does 4K Ultra HD. But if you don't need to film in 4K, maybe you don't even care about filming. You're just flying for the fun of, taking the drone out and seeing it fly around. In that scenario, I would go with the advanced or the standard. Now, I wouldn't go with the standard because it says, oh, it's 2.7K, which is better than 1080p. 2.7K, in my professional opinion, is just a weird resolution. There's next to no value in it. If you get the Phantom 3 standard, if I got the Phantom 3 standard, I would be flying in 1080. I would be filming in 1080p. And likewise, if I got the Phantom 3 Advanced, I'd be filming in 1080p. So the only thing you got to ask yourself is the reliability of light bridge versus Wi-Fi connection. Is that important to you? Because I can tell you from personal experience, and I love the Phantom 2 Vision Plus, the now retired drone. The Phantom 2 Vision Plus was great, captured some awesome videos in 1080p 30 frames per second. But the Phantom 2 Vision Plus, unfortunately, is now obsolete. So do you want to buy a new drone and potentially spend just a small amount less than something that's going to provide you with better technologies? The light bridge is awesome. If you use light bridge and then you go back to Wi-Fi, it's just not the same experience. And then also, as I'd mentioned previously, you're not getting with the standard, the Phantom 3 standard, you're not getting the GLONASS, which is the Russian equivalent of GPS, or the ground sensors, the vision sensors, whatever you want to call them, the things on the bottom of the Phantom 3 that detect the ground. So do you want to spend a little bit more and get something that's, in my opinion, a little bit better? I personally would not buy the standard, even though I love the Phantom 2 Vision Plus. I loved it. It worked well. But it's hard to go back. Once you step to the better technology, in this case light bridge, once you step to that greater technology, it's hard to step backwards and be happy. Now, if you've never used a drone before, maybe the Phantom 3 standard would be an option to consider. But it's one of those deals. It's like, well, God, if I'd only spent X amount more, I could have gotten the advanced or the professional. So ask yourself that. If money's no issue, the only option I would consider would be the Phantom 3 Professional. But if money is an issue, then I would personally go, if money was an issue, I would go for the advanced over the standard without a doubt. But if it's something you don't even feel like, hey, I may not even enjoy this hobby, then maybe the standard's right for you. Maybe there is a market for the standard out there. And keep in mind, too, with that Wi-Fi, it's another situation. It's just another little thing you got to recharge. You got to recharge that Wi-Fi range extender that's connected above the controller. So that's just another thing to deal with recharging. Not that that was an issue. Again, I love the Phantom 2 Vision Plus, but do you really want to step back and utilize older technology? So thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. YouTube.com/IrixGuy. Y'all have a good day.